Masculine Revolution, hosted by Jeremy Brown and myself, Murphy G. We also got the great Alan Black in here with us this morning.
Whoop, whoop.
Yeah, we running just the two of us this morning. So this is gonna sound a little weird, and I know when I was thinking about this question, I was like, I know his response is gonna be like, not really worried about it. And so put yourself in somebody's shoes that with AI encroaching, some people have gone to school and, took out loans to do a job that's about to be null and void, I guess, with AI. What would you say to somebody who's facing that? Or maybe I should start with, do you think about it at all? Are you concerned about it? I know that we're in construction.
Yeah.
But are you concerned about it at all, encroaching?
Personally, I have zero concern.
Yeah, I figured.
Not necessarily for my livelihood or anything like that. I think that AI will affect construction eventually, for sure. But does it concern me? Nah. But I do understand that there are people out there that are for sure concerned, and their concern is legitimate. My thoughts would be to begin preparing, because it's coming, and it's not going to get stopped. And so prepare and discover and try to get creative with finding a way to where you can make yourself needed. What that looks like and what that specifics, I don't really have an answer to that. But I would say there is an answer.
Yeah.
There is a solution, but it's going to take some discovery. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But get to work.
I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago. I don't know exactly what year it was, but they were telling truckers to go back to school for coding.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious because it's like, I think that was like the first thing they got AI to do was to start writing code and stuff. So it's just funny that the options that they tell people to go, hey, go try this. It's like that AI is actually going to, replace that first. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I just, I was talking with someone else in the industry of construction. I guess they deal a little bit more with more advanced stuff or whatever. And I was just hearing them talk, I was just like, I thought this would be like the last place, and it just seems like it's right around the corner. So
yeah,
I just, I know that some people are facing that in a more detrimental way or whatever. So
for sure. I think that it's legit.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that they shouldn't. They shouldn't. I think they should. But I think that don't despair. You know what I mean? Like, I think that that one thing that goes along with the AI conversation is people are like, there's some freak out involved on one hand, on one pendulum swinging that way where it's just like, it's the end of the world, and then the other side of it, it's just like, it's innovation and here we go. But, you can take a look at pretty much every generation since the beginning.
Yeah.
There's always been something new because humanity's like, we're a reflection of God, so we're creating nonstop, and so I think that if you rewind time, I guarantee you that I guess, would be some people's grandparents, some people's great-grandparents, with the car coming out, it was just like, I'm sure it was a total freak out of like, what are we going to do with this?
Yeah.
Because, horse and buggy's been around for a while at that point, and all of a sudden, people are whizzing around at, higher speeds, and fuels getting introduced to the society and, all this stuff, and I'm sure there were conversations just like we're having with AI that people were having about that, And so, yeah, is it happening at is it a little bit different, and is it happening at a little bit more rapid speed of extreme change? I think so, but still, it's at the end of the day, it's still a similar thing,
Yeah.
So I think that life will continue and things will evolve and people will make adjustments, and the folks that are affected from a vocational perspective, they'll bob and weave, and we'll keep going.
Yeah, Elon says nobody's gonna have to work soon. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the goal, I mean,
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it all boils down to we're trying to create heaven on earth, which we can't, but we're going to attempt to.
Yeah.
Because of the sin factor, we won't experience it. But that's, if you look at society as a whole, like everything is engulfed in removing discomfort.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All new technology, it has multiple facets of uses, but at the end of the day, it's at the core of it's to make your life easier.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily against, AI. I was telling Alan, like, I love the fact that it can help you, make something better, do something more efficient. I'm not super thrilled about it replacing, especially when it comes to like the arts and stuff of like ripping artists' voices, or even, on like movies and stuff like that. I'm not super excited about that. Like, if it helps you in the editing process, I think that's a great thing. I don't want to watch a whole movie that was generated from AI with no real talent or anything in it. But so it's like a weird thing of like, I'm excited about it, but at the same time, it's like, I don't necessarily want people to be replaced. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So,
It'll evolve though. I mean, things will evolve. Like, take a look at the telephone. Like, everybody started off with having a thing on the side of their wall they picked up, and spoke into or whatever.
operator, can you put me over?
Right, and now everybody's carrying it around in their pocket. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And can communicate from anywhere and everywhere. But we don't think about how like, wow, man, it used to
What
hang
happened
on.
to the switchboard operators?
Yeah, well, exactly. Like, we don't sit there and go, man,
Yeah.
those poor people. Like, no, there
Yeah.
was more jobs created from it. You know what I mean? So the unknown is always. We like to be in control, or we like the illusion of being in control.
Yeah.
And so, it'll keep going.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I was that TV series 1923. They come into town on the horses,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Where's the post I tie up my horse at?" And they said, "We took it out for parking spots."
Uh-huh.
And he's like, "These things are everywhere."
Uh-huh.
So we're at the same kind of that cusp of things changing drastically.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's different. It's different.
so I got some questions, and they're kind of like all, some of it's business related, personal, family, whatever.
Okay.
This one's a little geared towards leadership for sure. Tell me about a leadership failure that taught you the most.
Oh, man. There's a lot of them, man. Leadership failure that taught me the most. I think I would say assigning expectations in my mind to people. And so let me kind of unpack that a little bit. I would say, like, you invest into people and you pour into people, and you have these expectations for them, or I had these expectations for them to behave in different ways than, or or not necessarily like now you have to do exactly what I think you should do, but just had hopes, and then it didn't play out like what happened in like at my expectation in my head, and I allowed that to define whether or not I saw it personally as a success or a failure.
Yeah.
But now, as time passes, it's like I may have deemed it as a failure, but I was a fool to deem it as a failure because my capacity to see the bigger picture of how it would affect the individual or individuals in the long run, I didn't have the capacity to grasp that, and so at the moment, I might look at it and say, I failed as a leader in their life because they're not doing what they're not meeting my expectation or whatever. But then I'm looking at it with like, man, how foolish am I to think that I should have a response in a particular time frame and it should fit this mold, where I think God has the bigger picture and has the capacity to say, you're just playing a role, as a leader in that individual's life for the moment, and the outcome of that influence could go beyond what you could ever imagine and not fit within a time frame that your narrow expectation was expecting. And so I guess the lesson in that is to focus on for me was to focus on the conviction that God had placed on my heart, and how to live and how to lead, and then the results aren't up to me.
Yeah.
The results are up to Him and His plan, and relax, and that is easier said than done. When you're in a leadership position, leadership at times can make you feel, if you're not paying attention to what leadership really truly is, it can put you in a position of where you kind of feel alone. But that's the negative side, and what Satan wants to happen. That's his desire. God's desire is like at the end of the day, He's giving you gifts and talents if you're in a leadership position, which I believe the majority of people, or all people, are leaders in some form or fashion. That context of that can be different.
Yeah.
And the amount of influence that you can have as far as numbers wise with more or less, can be different. But at the end of the day, it's like, look, focus on what you're convicted to do and how you're convicted to lead, and then relax, because you can't control. You don't really control anything other than yourself,
Yeah.
And so I think that would be the biggest is be super cautious of setting expectations, because those expectations will rule how you react with your attitude.
Yeah. Who challenged you to become a better leader?
Multiple people. Some people I don't even know personally, Some are in my life, like in my circle, personally, but some I don't even know, and they're, books I've read,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty broad. But most of all, I would say, I would answer, which kind of sounds cliche or even like lame, but Jesus,
Yeah.
And it's the furthest from lame in my mind because it's like he's the perfect leader. And I've grabbed principles and concepts from other people's perspectives through books or podcasts, or just having personal conversations. But all those principles point back to how he lived his life and what we read in the Bible. And the more that I hear and the more that I study on leadership, I see him just freaking crush it.
Yeah.
And it doesn't look like you think it looks. I think our concept of leadership, at least in our society, it's like it's the guy or girl that's got it together and like, has the right answers in the moments that are needed the most. But really, it's real true leadership is nothing but service and putting yourself below others' needs, and trying to provide provide opportunities to meet other people's needs, and it's messy.
Yeah. I think for me it'd be probably my wife and kids. Just looking at them, it's like the necessity is just screaming at me. Just somebody's. You gotta step up. You gotta do the right things, even when it's hard. You do it for. You look at them and you just like, I gotta be more. I gotta be more. So I think for me it'd be my wife and kids for sure. Probably be what challenged me to be a better leader.
Yeah.
Let's see. What's a season you never want to relive?
A season. We were just talking about a season that was pretty difficult. I don't know, man. I don't really have any seasons that I absolutely would not like. I do not want to go back through that.
Yeah.
Because honestly, the hardest seasons that stand out where it's like, that sucked, I learned the most,
Yeah.
We were just talking about that season where, we were building a house. COVID was going on. We had planted a church and we were doing a renovation on the first, kind of its own brick and mortar place. My family was living in a camper while we were building, and I was running a business, being a husband and a father. There's a lot going on there. And I had a physical thing happen to me that...
Hold on. And we were doing workouts at 4 in the morning.
Yeah, I was doing like 2-a-days, baby. Which, there's a lesson in that. There's too much of a good thing is not a good thing. And God showed me that, But man, I learned so much. I learned so much about myself in that that I use every day today. Where we can make so many different things idols and put them in a place that they don't need to be. And dedicate so much time to what may seem important, but it ain't, So even my bad seasons, or what would be deemed as bad, I think I've tried to look at it as like, man, like this, let me look for the lessons in that.
Yeah.
So I don't really have one.
Yeah. I have some bad seasons for sure, but honestly, like I hate the decisions I made and the pain and stuff like that during those times, but I wouldn't, I don't think I would change anything because it made me who I am. And so I feel like that with the same, I don't know if I would necessarily say, there's nothing I wouldn't relive. There's definitely times where I wish it would have went different just because of the fallout from everything and the way that you make decisions and it impacts people. And and stuff like that. And I wish the pain and stuff, I wish some of that stuff would have never happened. But at the same time, it's like, it's a part of the story. And
Yep.
so I don't really look back at things like that and, necessarily regret. Like you said, just kind of try to pull, like, what am I supposed to learn from that, type mentality, I guess, with it.
Yeah, yeah, and it also it's also taught me where like you can be so for sure about something, and that, I mean, so confident that it's like this is what I need to be doing.
Yeah.
Like for example, I mean, not even on a really serious side, but I mean, like, I'm pretty passionate about health and wellness, and in that time you were talking about, like, I was doing two-a-day workouts, intense workouts, like getting after it big time. In my mind it was like I'm raising the bar,
That was right around the 4x4x40, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we did that 4x4x48. Yeah. And I think that I made it something that it shouldn't have been. And my body paid for it.
Yeah.
I had to pay the price.
Yeah. Which this kind of goes along with the same thing, but what's a mistake that you made, or I'm sorry, what's a mistake that made you a better person?
Mistake that made me a better person. I'd say, thinking back with my kids, I've always been present in their lives for their whole life. I've been around, I've been at home in the evenings, but my mind wasn't necessarily there because I was strategizing and thinking about the future and trying to plan and try to prepare, and I justified that as being responsible.
Yeah.
And being a provider, but really it was putting more of an emphasis on my efforts than trusting God.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would say that it was a mistake from the perspective of I wish I'd have been more present mentally, when my kids were younger, so that I would enjoy them,
Yeah.
and I missed it, and it's gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. But now I realize that I can still learn from that lesson, and they're still with me,
Yeah.
and under our roof, and so make the most of what I do have left, with them being in that phase of still under our roof,
Yeah.
So, better person of just recognizing that some things can seem so important at the moment, but they're really not in the big scheme of things.
Yeah.
And so I think that's made me more intentional now.
Yeah. Yeah. What's a mistake? I've made many mistakes, and I've learned from them. So, I mean, yeah, I've had some big ones for sure. I think I've crossed some lines in my life, and crossing that line, it's kind of like one of those things where you don't recognize the weight of decisions until you make one, and then you have to deal with it, and then it's like it just kind of haunts you. And so sometimes you can make a mistake and you'll never make that mistake again. And I've had a couple of those in my life. So, and I think like it changes you. You know what I mean? So I've made some mistakes that it was a hard lesson learned. And I think I came out the other side a little better for it. It gives me a little more compassion to people dealing with similar situations. It's just kind of understanding where they come from. And okay, so in business, what was your "we might not make it" moment?
Oh, that's a good one. That's every day, man.
Yeah.
For real. I mean, when you run a business, I think that the reason why most businesses fail is because it never stops.
Yeah.
You always have to. It's just a grind.
Yeah.
And grinding, being diligent and consistent, even when you get stomped into the ground, and you fail and you fail and you fail and you fail, that's a characteristic that is most people don't have. So that's why most businesses fail. So, I think that if you're going to be self-employed, saddle up, because that's what it's going to take, is consistently getting up even after you fall, and you're going to fall even when, like, you've done all the right things.
Yeah.
And you've been frugal, you've made the right decisions, and then life happens and throws you curveballs, and it's completely out of your control with opposition, and you're just like, what in the world, And my entire career has been that, and it has started off with like nothing, and then you get ahead a little bit, and then it goes away, and then you get ahead a little bit, and then it goes away, and then it gets ahead a little bit, and then it gets away, But then as time passes, if you take a step back and look at like your surroundings, you're like, well, we're doing good. You know what I mean? Like, we're blessed, but it's and I don't mean blessed like that's not just from a financial perspective.
Yeah.
But I think that I think I answer that question where it's just I don't think it's ever going to change. I think it's always that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know when I was first starting pressure wash, I got this. It was like really like my first big job, and between like bills that were due and just having to buy supplies and stuff like that, I pretty much my money was wrapped up in getting this job completed. And I had somebody working with me too, and the machine went down like halfway through the job. It was a big job too. It's a little kind of out of my depth for how long I'd been at it, but and I just remember just being like when the machine went down, I just threw my hands up because I was like, I don't even know what I'm about to do right now. I ain't got money to pay this dude. I was supposed to complete this job, and funny thing is it was a big job. So the lady came out and was, she offered to pay like a partial payment, which I wouldn't ask. Usually I wouldn't take that. I usually just say, we'll circle up when we get done. But I needed it, so it kind of all worked out. But I remember that day just being like, for 15 minutes, just kind of sitting in the truck, being like, what am I about to do right now?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing that I've learned personally, I mean, and I don't think this is isolated to people who own their own businesses. I think it's everybody. But, it's so funny how, Jesus just wants us to trust him. And he's got the resume to be trusted.
Yeah.
But it's so wild to me how quickly I'll find myself in this pattern of doubt where I'm like, I'm trying to go, okay, if I do the math on this and I move this around or whatever, blah, 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 blah. And it's like I'm sitting here trying to provide this solution.
Yeah.
Where over the years, I think Jesus has said, dude, look at who I am and what I can do. Like, relax, and that's hard to embrace when you got the pressure on you, and you're in that position where you're like, I don't know where the money is going to come from to pay my mortgage or pay rent or pay my car payment that I need to get to and fro work or just to buy groceries for my kids, And so I don't want to sit here and say that as like nonchalant, where we all have been in situations where it's super real,
Yeah.
you know, and you feel lost and alone, and you're like, what the heck? And that is a for real experience.
Yeah.
But my encouragement is like, think back on this. Isn't probably the first time that you're experiencing it, and it won't be the last. But solutions have been presented.
Yeah.
You know,
What's the best investment you have ever made?
getting married early.
Yeah.
Anna and I were 21 and 19, and we didn't have too much baggage because we were kids.
Yeah.
And having a true helper in your life, dude,
Yeah.
it is the most incredible experience. And I'm not saying we have this perfect marriage by any means, but she loves me and I love her, and it's like, I mean, it's just pretty cool experience to experience how what God can do through companionship and working together for the mission of no other agenda other than support.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know that in our society, I mean, we were one of them. People are like, we got it. The majority of people, except for the people closest to us, the people closest to us were 100% encouraging and loving and supporting. But on the outskirts, man, it was like, what the heck are y'all doing?
Just because you're so young?
Yeah. Yep. And we are 1 year away from celebrating 20 years, and it's like, all that conversation is just, I don't even, it's just rumblings in the distance of murmuring, and it doesn't mean jack squat. So yeah, I would say number one investment is taking the leap and trusting and having faith that, like, hey, we're going to love each other.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I would say my wife, starting a family, and to me, I think, purchasing a house was probably, like financially wise, I think, purchasing a house was probably my best investment to date. But yeah, definitely wife and kids, starting a family, and I think you get that solid foundation down, and don't matter what you do.
Yeah. I think professionally, that was personal side of it. Professionally, I would say investing into a team, and learning through that process of making an effort and pouring everything that I got into building other leaders.
Yeah.
And then be able, as time goes by and you go through the trials and the frustrations and all the things, but if you take a step back and look at, like, man, look at the team, and I'm not saying that, I'm not trying to take credit of that, like, that's because of my work, I'm not saying it like that. It's cool. It's an incredible experience and rewarding experience to watch other men step up and take ownership and make decisions that they know that will have an impact on not only themselves but the whole team, and to see guys do that consistently, is like, it's pretty freaking legit.
Yeah. Let's see. What belief have you changed your mind about?
Man, you got some big ones this morning that I was unprepared for. What belief? I don't know if this would qualify as a belief of like what you're trying to go after, but it kind of hits on what we talked about earlier with it, where there are no absolutes other than Jesus is who he says he is. But absolute, like what I perceive as full truth about something, there's a good chance that it's not just 100% true.
Yeah.
You know, there is no 100% true other than Jesus is who he says he is. You know what I mean? And so when you feel super passionate and super confident that, like, this is the right thing,
Yeah.
then you probably need to kind of take a step back and give it some time. Because I think I've been 100% convinced on things, and then as time passed, I'm like, I was probably about 70% right in that scenario, but there was 30% of it that was just like, I probably needed to change this. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? And so, yeah, there are no absolutes.
Yeah. I used to believe we went to the moon.
And that the earth is round?
Yeah. Past belief, you know? Nah, I mean, honestly, you know, I think, I don't know, something that belief that I changed. I used to think that, you know, they wanted us to be healthy. I don't believe that anymore.
They?
Yeah.
Who's they?
You know who they is. Everyone knows who they is. Yeah. No, I mean, yeah, I think I used to have more trust in like healthcare and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's changed over, especially after the pandemic and everything. I think I used to trust government a little bit more than I used to. Let's see. What are you chasing today that's different from 10 years ago?
Oh my gosh. You are hitting hard, man. I would say, what am I chasing different?
I can go first on this
Yeah,
one.
go first. Let me think on that one.
Yeah, so I think, and this might sound a little strange, but I used to chase the thrill, and now I'm chasing like peace. You know, I used to like as crazy as whatever it was. You know, it was like the thrill of it is what drove me, and now I'm like, man, I just want calm. I want something I can predict. You know. I think I used to live for the moment, you know, it was like there wasn't too much foresight about, you know, 5 years from now or anything like that. So I think I've just shifted my vision to looking a little bit further down the road, but, you know, used to have like, this is a good idea at the time, let's go, you know. So I think now I'm chasing more stability than a thrill, I would say.
Yeah. I think I was 10 years ago, I think I was chasing after like success, but let me kind of put some definition to success where I've never really chased like where the root of my success was financial. It was definitely a part of it.
Yeah.
You know, I wanted to have be successful financially from the perspective of running like a business well, you know, and using that business to invest for what I would say, you know, retirement, you know, kind of thing. And now I think I still desire to be successful, but I think that what I've realized in 10 years is that yes, you can live particular principles out and they will compound, but there is so much of the equation that's out of your control that you can put into play so many different things, and that doesn't necessarily mean it's going to equal like financial success, because it can come, you know, stuff can show up that completely is random and can take it all, you know. And so now I think I would say I'm still chasing success, but the definition of success is more rooted in it's more rooted in having or submitting control of myself and what's in my mind to the principles that Jesus teaches, which is ultimately love Him, trust Him, and love others and serve others. Which, you know, when He's asked what's the greatest commandment, He says, love your God and your neighbor as yourself. And so it's like, I look at that and I go, man, that little sentence with that one little question to Him, He sums up so much stuff that is applicable to our everyday life that it's ridiculous. Because it kind of ties into what I was talking about with the expectations, because then you let these expectations down and they don't run you. You know, I think the one reason that we have so much of a mental instability with our society, where, you know, statistics are out the roof with depression and struggle and all that, is there's these expectations of a particular way of living, you know. And if they're not met, then it's just like, what the heck, you know? What else do I have to do, you know? So yeah, I would say it's an attempt. I mean, you know, I'm not saying that I'm there and I've arrived by any means, because I think with humanity, you know, we have good days and bad days, you know, and there's days that I'm like, I feel pretty confident and trusting what He's got for me, and then there's days I'm like, what in the world is happening? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What else do I have to do, you know? But then when I say that out loud, it's like, it ain't about what I do, you know? It ain't about me, you know?
Yeah. Has your understanding of God changed over the years?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we have the opportunity to participate in what He's got going on.
Yeah.
And whether we participate or not, like, it ain't going to change Him.
Yeah.
You know, His mission will come to fruition.
Yeah.
Regardless of our participation or not.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, for me, you know, it's I've had some trying times, and God has answered in ways that I didn't necessarily expect, or, you know, didn't see coming. And as you read more, I feel like you just get it, you know, because when you're told, I mean, even like growing up, you know, you kind of get a certain version of God, and we do that to kind of, like, I guess, ease kids into it, or make it digestible or whatever. But then as you dig deeper and stuff, you start to like, man, what did I just read? what just happened? And you're like trying to, this is the, you kind of, and it's not like I want to question God, but like you read some stuff and you're like, that's pretty intense right there. That's, I can't say that as a human, I see the love in that, which maybe that's wrong to say, but I'm just saying you read some of the stuff, especially in the Old Testament, and you're like, this
Wrath. That's some
this is
wrath.
nuts, dude.
Yeah.
And so I think over time, and then just you deal with people too and things, and you start to. I feel like as you get older, you kind of understand. When you're a kid, you think, what are rules for? This is this is pointless. You're trying to control me, and then you get a little older and you realize you cannot have a society that's everyone's just doing what they want. Like it's just not feasible. And then you start to recognize the necessity for it, And so I think over the years, my view has changed a lot of kind of being like jaw on the floor reading this to, all right, I can kind of see why you'd be ready to wipe everybody out. You kind of just get a little bit more in depth with human nature and realize, yeah, man, we are pretty wicked, but I think it's just not like a negative thing, but just more understanding, I think.
Yeah.
Over the years.
Yeah. Yeah. Without him and alive in you, then, at the end of the day, you're going to always choose yourself.
Yeah. When have you felt God was silent?
I'd say multiple times, but,
Yeah.
I'd say, I think I'm in that kind of phase right now.
That's crazy.
There's a lot of unknowns in our lives right now that I don't have answers to.
Yeah.
And if I go back 10 years ago and I'm placed in this position that I'm in right now, I'd probably be freaking out.
Mm-hmm.
But I can honestly say that I'm not freaking out. And it's not because of anything like, look at me. It's just because I'm just like, well, what can I do about it?
Yeah.
I'm just going to take one day at a time and see what else God's got for me.
Yeah.
Coming down the pipeline, because opportunities, like positive opportunities, have presented themselves. But I don't have the answers of which direction I should go with it.
Yeah.
But I didn't do anything to create the opportunity. Like I didn't intentionally do anything.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, well, let's see what God's got. And maybe I just need to sit back and be patient and wait, and see what paths will open up that I can take as time goes on. Mm-hmm. I think that that's one thing that I've learned through the silent pieces of my experiences in life till this point has been silence. I think we like to equate silence as like he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Just naturally. Like, why don't you give me the answer that I want, But actually, it's just like, maybe he's teaching you to trust him within the 24-hour period that you are living.
Yeah.
And that he has more of a capacity to see the way bigger picture than you could ever imagine. And he just wants you to trust. And the exercise of building trust is unknown.
Yeah.
Like, you got to experience unknown. And silence is a pretty solid unknown. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I had a span of a couple of years, I think in my early 20s, where I felt like I wasn't nothing, hearing nothing. And that was more of like a negative thing. Like I felt like God was far from me kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But the past 2 months I've been in this and kind of what you're talking about, where like the silence kind of feels awkward at first and you kind of start to associate it with the negative thing. But it hasn't been negative. I mean, there's everywhere I look, there's evidence of God's hand on my life, but it's like, and it's not like a negative thing. I'm not going through terrible time. It's nothing like that. It's just it hasn't. It doesn't feel. It's like silent. You know what I mean? And it's been kind of. I've been praying about it and like, why do I feel like this? And no answers yet. So I'm just. It's just a weird. It's a weird feeling to describe because it's not like. I'm not angry with God for anything. I'm not. It's not like a bad time. Like I would look back at 19 to 21 or whatever, but it's just a different phase. And it's like I said, it's been like 2 months going on. So I'm in the middle of God teaching me something apparently. So, but yeah, it's like not a bad thing though. So trying to figure out what the lesson is there. Let's see. Tell me about a prayer that was answered in a way you didn't expect.
So I've been praying probably for the last 2 or 3 years about just, Lord, give me patience.
Yeah.
And it has definitely has been answered, but not in this way of where I felt like I just want to hit a button and just be able to be patient. Nah. He's going to put in a lot of unknown and what I would deem as frustrating. But he's sitting back, I think, and going, this is what patience looks like, man.
Yeah.
Chill out. Take a breath. Take a breath.
Yeah. Have you ever seen the movie Bedtime Stories with Adam Sandler?
No.
Alan, have you ever seen that movie? All right, so he does these he makes up these stories for his niece and nephew. They're like bedtime stories. But he noticed that whenever they tell the story, it would come true. But they might say, oh, they're making up, stories about space people, and they're like, oh, so-and-so catches on fire. And he's like, freaks out. He's like, no, I don't want to catch on fire. So the whole day he's like trying to put out fires and stuff, and he messes up in the end and does something to his boss. So his boss fires him. And so their stories would come true, but it was always in these weird ways of, it's, the fire part or whatever. And I felt like for literally the past 6 years of my life, that's what it's been. I've gotten answers about things and they've happened, but in a way where it's like, yeah, it happened, but not like I was expecting that to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's been my pattern, for the past 6. Every time I watch that movie, I just laugh because I'm like, dude, that's exactly how it's been. I pray for things, get answers on things, and it's answered, but it's not the way that I had fully expected.
Which comes back to that expectation thing. I think we just can't help ourselves with setting these expectations of what things should
what
look
we
like.
think, what we think should go, how it should go,
right.
Yeah,
it's like Alan and I were talking about before we started recording, where it was having children and having multiple children, and it's one hesitation to that is finances, and I had the exact same thought process, when Ann and I decided to start, multiplying, it was we're not prepared, we need to get prepared, you know what I mean? And it's so silly. Like when I look at it now, I look at it as man, that's the silliest thought process ever, because number one, you're never going to be prepared. Number two, which I ain't calling you silly, Alan. I'm calling yeah. Sorry, I didn't mean to come across like that. You're dumb, man. That's a dumb thought process. No, I had the exact same thing, so I'm right there in the same seat. But what I've learned from that is the blessing of a child trumps being prepared.
Yeah.
It puts it to the. I mean, it's not even in consideration. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so, but again, it's the expectation that you have in your mind, which is a honorable expectation of I want to be able to provide for what I'm going to be responsible for, another life that I'm going to be responsible for. That's honorable.
Yeah.
but the first thing that comes to my mind, where Jesus is saying, like, hey, look, why? When he teaches on worry, it's nonstop. It's like, what are you worrying about? What you eat and what you gonna wear?
Yeah.
Like, look at the birds. I've given them everything they need. Why would I not do that to you?
Yeah.
You're more than the bird. You mean more to me than the bird. And I provide the bird everything. He knows how to make a nest. He knows where to get sticks. He knows where to find worms and seeds, and and the seeds and the worms are there for him. You know what I mean? Like, all these things, and you're more to me than the bird. Like, don't think like that.
Yeah.
But I think that it's completely normal to think like that.
Yeah, we stopped at 3 due to like wanting to provide a certain quality of life,
Yeah.
if we took on another one, it's, it is something to consider, you know what I mean? For sure.
Yeah, definitely
definitely
something to consider. I'm not, say throw it out completely,
Yeah.
but what I'm saying is that if you know that God's calling you to have more,
Yeah, for sure.
don't worry about it,
Yeah. Let's see. If your life had chapters, what chapter are you in right now?
I hope if there's 10 chapters, I hope I'm in 5, I don't know though.
Yeah.
That could be a 9, but I think I'm in a chapter where I'm in the beginning of really being able to see, like, connect the dots with what trust looks like. Which is crazy because I'm 40, and so I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I wish I would have got there a lot faster, But then I turn around and say, well, at least I'm getting there, So, yeah, I hope I live past the average. So I hope I'll be about in the middle right now.
Yeah.
I hope I got another half to get out.
I heard that. Yeah, I think I think I've been that part of the story where someone loses real big and then they're like starting to pick themselves back up. That's whatever the start of that hill is. That's where I'm at.
Yeah.
For sure. All right, last one. What does a life well lived look like to you?
Oh man, that's a good one to end on. A life well lived. I heard a story from, one of my best friends, talking about a guy at a funeral that I don't know if he did the funeral or if he was just there, part of the service or whatever. But the story goes, a guy had passed away. He was older and I think died of natural causes, so it wasn't like a shock or anything or anything like that. But they're standing up there and they're just doing what they do at funerals, and the guy doing the funeral asked, like, hey, if you were impacted by this man in a positive way, and it changed, and his life and the way that he lived inspired you 100% to live differently and make a positive impact on others as well, stand up. And he said the room was just like kadunk, and he specifically, like, he said, I think he highlighted, like, if you're a man, and this, because this guy poured into men, and so for me, I think that's my answer is like, if I can be a light in the darkness and inspire other men to live a different path, to live a different way that they're not at the center of, but they're serving others, and that they're making an impact through working hard and being humble and serving the ones that are closest to them first, and then that ripples out. That's it, man.
Yeah.
And let that legacy of becoming more like Jesus, and giving him the glory. In that moment, in that service, he was honored by those people standing up. But I think that particular man was rooted in the same thing of Jesus is who he says he is, and I'm trying to be more like him. And my entire purpose is to inspire others to do the same, and not to follow in my footsteps because I'm going to let you down, but to follow in his, because he won't let you down. I think that's success.
Yeah. Yeah, I think if your kids love you, your wife loves you, and your community's got good things to say, I think you've lived a good life. I mean, some people, be on great big adventures and travel the world, but I think if you can be somebody that benefited people's lives or just made people's lives better, just being around them, I think that's a solid thing to look back on. I mean, obviously all the things that you said for sure. But I think, at the end of the day, I think if your family and the people that know you best, are there for you in the end, and everyone's there, and it's a good feeling. I think you've done a good job, man.
Yeah.
So I think we never really know, I guess, until your biggest party is after you're gone. So you never really know. But to me, it'd just be, as long as my kids know that I love them, my wife knows that I love her, my family knows, and obviously that I reflected that I love God. I think, everything in between would be good. So, yeah, man, a little different setup than we usually do.
Yeah, man, I enjoyed it.
Switch it up just a little bit. But,
Good job with the questions.
Yeah. Well, yeah, y'all can reach out to us. Hey, if you're interested in being a guest on, or you want to add to any of the conversations that you hear, just reach out to us. You can find us on Facebook, Masculine Revolution Podcast, YouTube. Like I said, just reach out to us. Until next time.
Join the family.
Yes, sir.